Hey, greens, everybody. This is Wesley Pepper. This is the Art Lexcia podcast. It is the first week of December, so the year's totally done. And if you're an artist and you made, and if you're creative and you listen to this episode, that means you survived another year, post-pandemic world. So congrats to you, big ups to you for listening, actually coming. And before we get into all the other formal things, big up to all of you. We've got a bunch of new subscribers this week, so much love to all of you guys. There's a bunch of, the heat has also been climbing, pretty cool. So much love to everybody that's been liking, listening, subscribing. And remember, like, you'll find us on YouTube. So that's our main source. But we're all over Spotify, iTunes, Afropod. There's so many. But you just search for the Art Lexcia podcast. It's the dopest art space podcast in the world. And yes, I've said it was the second time, the third time I've said it. But it's dope, man. Like, guys, we've been getting a lot of love from everybody from all over the globe, actually. There's also a lot of guys who want to work with us, help us promote, market the show, and that's definitely something we're looking forward to doing in the new year. Because we got like 2 weeks or some shit like that, months, weeks left for the year. And we actually plan to do a really interesting Christmas thingy, because episode will go live on Christmas Eve. We're gonna do a cooking thing. We want to just show you guys like how you can use just ordinary ingredients to do something like really interesting. Yeah, so it's like really, if it works, it's gonna be dope, because then we'll do a bit more of that next. If Siza loves cooking as well. And with the Green Ankh session, so that's definitely something we want to focus on. So look forward to that. That's going to be too nice. And we're also covering, just last season, we're also covering the Gauteng something book festival. I forgot the full
International Book.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, we'll also be covering that actually this coming week, this Saturday, which is the 11th of December. So look forward to that too. And just last, also the 100th episode is also like literally an episode or two away. So that's 100 hours or plus of great content. So you know where to get hold of all of us, or to find all those other episodes. The previous 70 or so all audio, it's only like now video. But yeah, that's that. We're also trying to, there might be electricity is load shedding bullshit by the government in the episode, but like I stopped giving a crap about that already. So my lights might go out, but it's fine. Well, like it's not fine, but yeah, you get me. So Siza, it's very hot today, as the people can tell.
Yeah, but it's nice. It's nice. I'm enjoying the weather, and geez, it's been a long year, but you know what? I look forward to the Art Lexcia all the time, because the episode with Katie last week was absolutely amazing.
Katie was dope.
Inspiring episode. And
I love it.
Yeah, and today we are joined by Menzi Maseko, who is the CKO of the Green Ankh Works, where they say isinto sethu yimpande yokuphila. And we invited him today because we want to reflect on some of the themes that really came through this whole year for us, and those were mental health issues and the network issues, just surviving in this tech space and age. So welcome, Menzi Maseko, and how have you been?
Greetings, my king. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Sanbonani, greetings. Hotep.
I like it.
Yeah. So welcome. How unjani? How's the healing work?
I'm really well, and I'm saying Hotep in a tongue-in-cheek way on purpose, because I know in the previous few years there's been this backlash against the so-called Hoteps, and I am definitely one of those Hoteps. with whatever contradictions that it might bring. I believe totally that word sound is power. Come from the Rasta background, so word sound is power. If you don't know what hotep means, it's okay, we'll explain it to you. If some people have put the word to disrepute, it's all right too. We can even deal with that too. But I'm not gonna get rid of a term or a word just because someone put it to disrepute. I am not here to cancel anyone. Yeah, but I'm well. In other words, in a nutshell, I'm great. I'm doing well.
I like that. I like the energy. You don't have this energy and heavy manoguti as in, let me correct you. We'll tell you.
No.
And actually you do that. I mean, every Sunday or every other Sunday, you host the Kambi live on Facebook. Can you tell us about that, man, and how it came about and why? Because I know also it was around COVID that I seriously.
Yeah, well, it can be. I'll give you a Genesis first, quick Genesis story. Ugenesis wake up or umsuka. So it can be started via a group called Great Empire of Kemet, right? So we used to have a book around 2019. There was a book 2018, 2019. There was a book club that we were doing on Zoom with a couple of brothers and sisters who were part of the Great Empire of Kemet, the GEK, which is led by Baba Umkhulu Nsengiza. So we were reading a couple of books, but the main book that we were reading from, it was called The Sacred Magic of Ancient Kemet, right, by Elizabeth Clark. So from the book club emerged a couple of, I would say, organizations, or emerged a couple of projects, right? And it can be emerged from a project that was supposed to be a educational project, where all of us were saying, okay, we are reading a book, and this book seems to have a lot of things that are interesting, but we want to make it very practical. We want to do a very practical immersion into what, in some of the knowledge that is being shared, or that is being that we are gleaning from this book, right? That Mkhulu Nsengiza had recommended for us. So we wanted to start a school. So COVID, as you were saying, my sister, COVID was emerging around that time, the whole lockdowns things, I can't tell you which month it was, but all I remember is that lockdown, there was a lot of lockdowns. I was in Zimbabwe at the time, living in Harare. And so we were meeting on Zoom. The meetings will start at 8 and will run even sometimes till 2 o'clock, till 2 a.m., sometimes 4 a.m., So within that, some of us said, okay, let's start kind of like we're discussing issues of homeschooling. What's the difference between homeschooling? We'd have some people come in to tell us about the various ways on how to homeschool your children and how to, there's another part of homeschooling. It's not called homeschooling. It's called what? I forgot what it's called, but it was about basically how to study and teach distant learning for both for young people and for adults. But some of us said, okay, we are in the middle of a crisis. It's a health crisis. How do we help each other deal with home remedies? How do you create home remedies for the flu, for different respiratory diseases and things like that? How do you boost your immune system? So we decided to know, okay, GEK is dealing with some things on a spiritual level. We want to really zero in on Ikambi. And Ikambi is a Zulu word meaning a cure or a herbal cure, right? So myself and Nkosi, Nkosi, and I think there was another sister by the name of Nelisiwe Klaba, and Uskwili brother Msheli, Linda. So we kind of did Ikambi. We started it and registered it as a business, actually, because we wanted to teach, but at the same time we wanted to sell products. But the whole premise was to get the healers, because there's a lot of healers, sangomas, zinyanga, and homeopaths and all that within Ikambi. We said, okay, let's gather all that knowledge and put it into one vehicle. And that's how Ikambi was born. So it was about teaching, but also at the same time, we wanted to actually take it forward to how do we do after COVID? What do we do after lockdowns? Where do we meet? What do we do to actually help each other sell each other's products? How do we get this knowledge how do we package this knowledge in such a way that it can reach greater audiences beyond anyone who's interested maybe in this Kemetic stuff that the Kemetic knowledge that GEK is doing. But how do we actually involve people of whatever different walks of life into the healing practices of our ancestors, and how do we adapt them to so-called modern standards? That's how it emerged. Ikam.
Okay, that sounds. Could you sorry, man. You were saying there that you guys were looking at firstly natural remedies.
Yes.
And you were looking to sell the products as well. So, I mean, with COVID, we actually covered this on this platform last year, with the jabs. I was prompting all the guests to see, you pro or anti-vax and that type of thing. And the response was actually quite astounding. Like, it was quite divisive. The people had very, very, very strong opinions on that. And it's about a year later, COVID is actually picking up, which is concerning. So yeah, man, what type of remedies did you guys discuss? What were they about? What was the dialogue? What was the narrative? What was the overwhelming narrative that you were discussing? Were you more pro? If you were more pro natural remedies, then just explain a little bit more to our listeners. So for those that is not too queued up with African natural remedies, so now they know.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Thank you, my brother. It feels 2020 feels like many, many years ago. It feels like 5 years. It feels like it's been a lot has happened. A lot of loved ones have passed away. A lot of people that we felt that were our leaders, such as a lot of traditional leaders actually were infected with COVID. Some were infected multiple times. Some had long COVID. Some didn't make it. I'll make an example. Many have recovered. We give thanks. But, people that you would assume are using similar remedies. Some would recover, some did not. Right. I will get to what remedies are, which kind of remedies I'm speaking about soon. But just want to first start with the lives that, and honor some of the lives that we did lose. My one that was quite close to me and very emotional for me, besides family members, there was I think 1 or 2 family members, but there is a lady by the name of Sangoma, a Koko by the name of Menzi Maseko. As you would imagine, she has the same surname as me, but we were not blood relatives, but we are kingdom relatives because the Maseko is an ancient Swazi kingdom. Now, she passed away, and she was the leader of the traditional healers organization, one of the most prolific and one of the most intelligent and one of the most, how can I say, knowledgeable and hardworking and well-traveled globally people. And so I took it as a serious offense, her death, even though no one knows when anyone is going to pass away. But her passing through COVID, so they say, for me was almost like a smack in the face for traditional healers. Yeah. Because here's someone who has dispensaries in different parts of South Africa, dispensaries selling traditional medicines. And she was in the forefront speaking about COVID, promoting Umhlonyana Lengana, the Artemisia Afra and all that, and promoting different kinds of ways to boost your immune system, promoting various kind of medicines for various different ailments, speaking on behalf of people with mental handicaps, mental illness and all that. She was on the forefront. She was on podcasts. She was doing a whole lot of things. And she passes away. I think around December 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, and it was a real blow. And she had been giving me some advice regarding my spiritual growth also. What should I do? And a couple of things like that. So I was beginning to follow some of her advice on certain things, and then she passes away. You know, and I was actually beginning to work with her in terms of marketing some of her businesses, and then and that happened. So I give honor and thanks to her, Gogo Pepsile Maseko. They call it Temangzamani. Now, there was a lot of division, even within Ikambi group, because we have a WhatsApp group. There was a whole lot of debate. We decided from the onset on Ikambi that we do not want to discuss conspiracy theories on the group, on the WhatsApp groups, or on our platform, whether on Facebook or whether on our Zoom, right? So we will not discuss. It's not that we were shutting people's opinions on COVID, but we kind of decided not to speak too much about COVID, but to speak about it in a general sense and in a contextual sense as part of respiratory diseases and immunodeficiency diseases that are out there, and not to isolate it as, okay, here, this remedy is for COVID. Also, we always highlight, we can't be that what we are talking about, we are not giving prescriptions. We call traditional healers in to interview them about their lives, about their, their life as healers, and their knowledge, and we ask them to impart their knowledge. But we are very specific. We have a disclaimer that says that we are giving recommendations. We are not giving prescriptions.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. So the prescriptions that we gave, if you go on our YouTube page, you will find many episodes dealing with respiratory diseases, and COVID happens to be one of them. There's tuberculosis, there's bronchitis, there's various kinds of diseases that are bronchial disease, that are respiratory diseases, and we believe, and like some doctors also, I know Dr. Mjaja and Dr. Rapiti, I think is in Cape Town, if I'm not mistaken, and there's various different doctors, even globally, who highly recommend that if you go somewhere and you get diagnosed with COVID, for example, you should start early to take things like zinc, supplements. Take those supplements, but also you can use various homeopathic medicines, but do it early. Things to do like nasal sprays, whatever nasal sprays are out there. Check the box. Check what ingredients are in the medication that you are using. And the most important point is gain knowledge. Understand what you are taking. If you are taking a disprin, what is a disprin? What kind of aspirin is disprin?
Yeah.
Who makes it?
Yeah.
What is the life cycle of the thing? Even if it's recommended, a Sangoma recommends a medicine for you. We are living in the technology age. It can't be we recommend that people go and research the things that they are using. That's basically it for us. So we are about that. We are about that knowledge. We are about people gaining knowledge about the basic everyday things that they use. If it's Mshonyan, I believe in Mshonyana works. I believe in Msuzwana works. Msuzwana in Zimbabwe, they call it Zumbani. In my house, there's not a day that passes where we do not drink Zumbani. My children live on it, because it's not. It's something that you can drink like rooibos. It does not have a toxicity level that is very high, But you cannot drink Artemisia every day. You cannot drink Artemisia Afra. You cannot drink Mshonyana every day. 2-3 times a week is okay, because you need to flush it out, So there's a various. Some of them you can find them if you go to the Ikambi YouTube.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful work with Menzi. But an interesting thing is that you're in Zimbabwe, and you met online. How was your experience with the network issues and that kind of stuff. And then also, you talk about healing, but in a physical sense, ngamakhambi, medicine, but I know that you do a whole lot of other aspects of healing, like music. Recently you had Zulu Boy there, and and creation of the bee, Mother Nature, and that kind of stuff, like the different forms of healing. Can you?
No, even before we started the Kambi, I think all of us got together because we believe in African solutions to problems that we face as Africans, right? So as Africans, we do not believe as this group of Africans on ICAM and OAGK or other groups that I'm affiliated with. Like, say, for example, the Institute of Africology, which we started with Mama Yashantewa around 2013 in Durban, 2012, 2013 in Durban. We do not believe in being spoon-fed information. We do not believe in getting prescriptions from the West or from those who totally believe in Western forms of knowledge, on Western approaches of knowledge, without contextually looking at what is going on with an African. What is an African? What makes an African living in Southern Africa different to an African living in Northern Africa? And what makes us different to other people living in other parts of the world? And what are the things that make us who we are in terms of the diet, in terms of our nutrition, in terms of our the level of pollution in the air, in terms of the way we approach God? What is God to us? Do we even have gods, so to speak? So there's a whole lot of things that we always kind of try and take in, understand the contextual basis of everything that we are doing, right? So when I was in Zimbabwe was under heavy lockdown.
Yeah, man.
There was a whole year where I could not come to South Africa. Whole year. I think more than 12 months, in fact, where we could not travel home. Excuse me. Remember, I've got triplets, I've got I've got my children and my wife, but she can't go to Swaziland, I can't go to South Africa, I can't go to Azania. We can't travel anywhere, and we're living in a suburb which would be locked down properly. There would be checkpoints. In fact, checkpoints just recently ended in Zimbabwe, so they'll close them down and they'll open them up again. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months of checkpoints with soldiers, not police, with soldiers. South Africa, I think you experienced that. We experienced that. I wasn't here at that time, but I think South Africa experienced that for very limited time. I'm not sure if it was 3 months or what.
About a month, 2 months.
Yeah, about a month or so. Yeah, it was not that heavy because people were fighting back. Now, Zimbabwe is a military dictatorship. People don't like to acknowledge that.
I agree with you.
Yeah, people don't like to acknowledge that, but it's led by people who believe in force, who don't believe in dialogue, who believe in talking down at people. They are authoritarian. So in South Africa, they try that with us, but we are not. We are made of some kind of different stuff. We will fight back, even though during, the height of the COVID pandemic, I call it a pandemic. I call myself a pseudo conspiracy theorist. I'm in the middle when it comes to issues of COVID, lockdowns, and all those things. I'm in the middle. A lot of people died in South Africa. I think 21 people or 31 people were shot by police and soldiers in South Africa during the lockdown. Some for defying very simple things like walking to the clinic, for example, or going to buy some stuff for your child, for example, or going from Soweto to Joburg, or from one part to another part, But we know that 90% of those people that died, if not 99, were Black. You see, so there are so many levels of which we can approach this whole COVID pandemic. Excuse me, on your channel to be using those terms used by proper first-rate conspiracy theorists. First-rate conspiracy theorists, like some of my friends are. But I've studied this enough and observed it enough to know that it is definitely not something it's beyond. It's not just a disease. It's not just about an illness and our caring governments trying to protect us. That's all I can say on that level. It was difficult doing it from Zimbabwe. It was strenuous. Data was expensive. It's still expensive. Zimbabwe is under heavy sanctions, so people struggle and people suffer. Basic food stuff for ordinary Zimbabweans. I was living as a diplomat, right? Because my wife was working for a company, an organization called Trade and Development Bank, and so it was very. We were kind of cocooned from a whole lot of struggles that a whole lot of our people, ordinary Zimbabweans in Chitungwiza or in other suburbs and townships are going through. But because I'm the man that I am and the activist, I visited people, I live with people, I invited people to my house, I went to different kinds of townships. I experienced how Zimbabweans generally live. And I can tell you right now that COVID debilitated a lot of people. People that sell on the streets, we used to buy our food stuff. I never went to Pick and Pay in Zimbabwe to buy certain groceries, like market stuff, like groceries, veggies, I would buy on the streets. But for a whole year, imagine a mother that was making money, sending children to school by selling stuff on the streets, selling onions, everything, fresh produce, shut down for more than a year. So you can only imagine the devastation in the informal economy. And Zimbabwe is mostly made up, people survive on the informal economy there, just like most of Africa.
Yeah.
You know, so it was debilitating, it was devastating. And it still is, the effects are still being felt even today.
Yeah, man. Let me just come in there. Actually, my brother, thanks for actually bringing up all of those topics there, because I've noticed on this platform that we actually didn't cover a lot about COVID in 2023, and I see that as actually quite interesting, as that like it was such a traumatic experience that in some cases the creative community sort of just either just blocked it off, or in some cases, at least with our guests, is that they could just tunnel vision, like, okay, look, there's this absolute crazy going around me. I'm just gonna focus on my work. And I think that too also had detrimental. It was pretty poor because it affected a lot of our creators' mental health, which we're actually feeling. I mean, even in the sport world, there's a major sport story in South Africa now with a certain rugby player that just disappeared for 3 weeks. And then the story started to rise now that he's actually dealing with serious
Stress.
issues. Yeah, and like what capitalism does to any working class person is that you don't have time to digest trauma. There's just no time. And as a black man, as a black person in particular, you don't have time. You have dependents, you have kids, family, house, debt. You gotta work, bruh. There's no I gotta take time out. And you also mentioned in the beginning that like it's 2020 seems like 5 years ago. Fuck, man, it seems like it. Yeah, it seems like 100 years ago. It's like, and it was
real
months ago. So on that point there, man, because you were talking about a lot of these traditional remedies. Mental health is a major issue that actually the whole world is dealing with, and COVID is a major role player in that. What's your views on that, man? What's your take on how South Africans and how the creative community has been sort of just founded? There's not a lot of platforms. Excuse me. There's not a lot of platforms and then spaces for any creative just to go out and talk and just be honest. Because my understanding on that is that there's money. So if somebody's gonna go out and go talk, somebody's gonna try to make money off that, and we've discussed that a lot on this platform on how people exploiting black pain, which is also something we can like get into gradually. So yeah, man, just give us your ideas or your on that, your thoughts on that.
You know, firstly, I am glad that mental health is a topic has become topical. I was just sharing with a friend of mine the other day that, not with a friend, with my brother, my biological brother, that because he's also has had his own mental health challenges, you know, as a family, as a person, you know, even myself, I've had my own mental health challenges. And when I say ahead, I have to qualify that by saying that I don't believe that it ever ends. You know, you mentioned capitalism. You know, it's just that there are different degrees. It doesn't end. We are all challenged psychologically at different levels. But when you mention capitalism, especially racialized capitalism, with which we as Black people globally, we live under, it means total stress every single 24 hours a day, every day. I have to commend people like Baba Buntu and his Ebukhosini solutions and his Shabaka Men of Africa project, Shabaka Men of Africa project, which has been happening for almost 20 years, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It is an affiliate of the Institute of Africology. But Baba Buntu and Baba Mama Tebogo Buntu have been able to focus especially on the African male, the Black man, and the mental health issues that Black men are faced with as a direct result of racial profiling and of capitalist exploitation. So I like to commend him, first and foremost, for the incisive work. I say incisive because he and his organization and the many youth, the youth that he works with, they focus on this issue in a holistic way and from a multidisciplinary kind of multidisciplinary approach to the mental health, I would say, pandemic, you know, that is happening. A sane person would not expect sanity from a world that is actually deranged, you know. So we when you talk about, you know, people speak about capitalism as if it's just something, it's an economic, it's just something, it's an idea, it's like a theory, you know, it's just a way, a worldview on how to do business and how to do trade and how to economics. But when you look at the human, how do I put this? Just the human element and the toll and the corrosive nature of it. From, if you look at its history, if you have what they call institutional memory, and you look at the effects of it on all people in the world, and then you look at it, and you start to put a how can I say, like a microscopic view on how it affects Black men. You know, we're gonna speak about women again, but when you talk about the Black men, and you look at it also from, let's say, even from a Fanonian perspective, I don't want to go deep into there, you can really see that mental health is a deliberate creation of imperialism, of racialized capitalism, of the monopoly states that have been created and that recreate themselves in almost every part of our lives. From the creative industry to the industrial parts, in the factories, in the mines and everything, in the farms. You know, I grew up with a grandmother, sorry to digress. I grew up with a grandmother who used to tell me stories about how she was abused at the farms by Afrikaner men, right? And Afrikaner women, you know, in the farms. Physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse of all kinds. My grandmother, my mother's father, my father's mother, who grew up in a place around Utrecht. It's called Utrecht, Newcastle, Utrecht, those areas, northern Natal, you know. So that's where my family comes from. So you look at that and you ask yourself, how can we not be crazy? How can we not be crazy if we have been treated like that intergenerationally? So it's generations and generations of abuse. And when you look around, you find that the only elixir we have is either religion or alcohol or substance abuse or violence, right? So there's three. It's not even an elixir. These are the outlets of whereby we actually take out our frustration, our anger, our pain. That outlet was taken away. COVID took that away. Took away the public performance space. Took away the live interaction with your audience. Took away so many jobs, technical jobs. The music engineer, the person who sells products at the music at a show, so many things. Like that's just on the music part. The artist who's a visual artist can't go and exhibit, or even if, let's say, the lockdown is happening, you've just started your exhibition somewhere in Rosebank or in Sandton or wherever there's a gallery, closes the next week. You've spent thousands creating works, 10 portraits. You are expecting at least maybe 100,000 Rand, or you're expecting 50,000 Rand return. It's shut down. The gallery is shut down for the rest of no matter how many months it was. What happens to you? Don't you fall apart?
In a major way.
Yeah.
So it's been devastating, my brother and sister.
But I think, but means I think it's also, I don't know, maybe we like you to be a people who have resilience, because like you've been talking about creating institutions, like moving, doing something about this pain. And you say something that, Thabo, and I always talk about undressing the pain, because
yes.
it's a long pain, and all these layers need to be, stripped down. And
yes,
it's beautiful stuff also, because you're talking about books, all these things that we've been told they are not us. Black people don't read, so you can
Black people don't read contracts. We don't read contracts.
yeah, one. So but you're dealing with that kind of stuff, and what did I want to ask you? How do we do it? How do we do it? Like my earlier question was also like your connection with people in Zimbabwe and in South Africa, that kind of stuff. It's possible. How is it possible? Because I know it's happening.
Well, it's only possible if you are willing to make it possible. African people are united in a Pan-African way through the church. Let me make an example with the charismatic churches.
Good example.
Let me give charismatic churches. People don't say Pushiri. People who say daddy to Pushiri don't see him as a Malawian. People who say daddy to that other guy who killed a lot of people in his church, 71 people, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the Nigerian fella.
In Nigeria. When they say daddy to him and they look at him as a proverbial messiah, they don't see a Nigerian, right? When we are watching a football, which is another religion, we don't see a Messi as an Argentinian. Also, people who love Messi or who love Ronaldo, they don't see these guys as other. You understand? So as soon as we look at commonalities, the things that common interests, for example, whether it's religion in the spiritual sense or whether it's religion in the sports sense, the walls break down. The walls break down, but they don't break down fundamentally at a fundamental, essential level. Because Messi is still getting paid exorbitant amounts of money that can pay a whole factory. He gets it in a month. You understand? So that's capitalism. Ronaldo gets paid the same amount that a whole team, maybe the whole squad gets in a month. He gets it in a month. The squad gets it in a year. Or not even. Can add 5 years to a South African team to make up for the sportsman's amount. But the pastor also, the black pastor in Nigeria or in Ivory Coast or wherever, his salary compared to the local pastor who's born again, who loves Jesus, and is doing it purely for heaven's sake. Who's doing it for heaven's sake? Unintended. So that pastor, like I believe my mother is an evangelist, and my stepfather too. When I speak with them, I can tell that they're not interested in people's money. Like people would say, these churches, these Pentecostal churches are about people. These people are interested in saving souls. They're interested in being intercessors between God and humans. They truly believe in what they are actually standing for. Now, I'm making those examples in order to speak about Pan-Africanism and what I would call it pan-humanism, so to speak, even though there's a problem. In a way that when you find common interests, all these other things like money and the race and even gender, they fall away until an ideology of division is inserted into that particular sector, whatever discipline it is, whether it's church or whatever. So for me, to answer your question, Koko Nkosi, Pan-Africanism is not a far-fetched something. It's not something that's only happening on a political level. All I'm saying that it is happening on many other levels. It's just that we do not notice it because it is not labeled Pan-Africanism. It's just people doing trade together, whether they're selling Jesus or whether they're selling clothes, Kente cloth, or whether they're selling Islam. I'm using the word selling in broad terms. Whatever you are selling, color and border and all those things, they become secondary to the thing that you have united for. If you are united in Islam, I know Black Muslims who don't see a problem with Arab who have a cognitive dissonance when it comes to Arab slave trade. When you tell them about Arab slave trade, it's a misnomer. It's something that the white man created. It's not true. Or if it was true, it's blown out of proportion. And there are Christians who, if you speak about a Christian, the Christian hand in slavery, enslaving Africans, it's like something, those were not actual Christians. They just used the Bible.
Yeah.
They just used the Bible. It's not.
Yeah.
They were not born again. They didn't have Christ.
Yeah.
So I hope you are getting my point. My point is simply that Pan-Africanism is a daily occurrence. I had dreadlocks. I've been having dreadlocks and cutting them for many years. It's a Ghanaian brother who cut my hair first, but the second guy who cut my hair is from Lesotho. That's just trade. I didn't ask what nation are you who's going to cut my hair. When I buy my beads or when I buy my ankh, I don't ask where do you come from. I want the product. I want the service, right? So on a service level, Pan-Africanism is existing, and it has always existed. But you have to be willing to do it intentionally. If you want to do it in a programmatic way, like we are doing with institutions that we create, you have to be intentional about it. You have to understand what kind of seeds you are sowing when you deliberately do a Pan-African intercultural trade. Like I trade with Congolese people. I opened Urban Zulu with Papi Kalua, who was Congolese. When we did Urban Zulu, when we started Urban Zulu, I didn't ask. As me and I'm Zulu Swazi, you are Congolese. Is it gonna work out? How is it gonna work? No. I was about selling my books and other services that I was doing. It was about selling his clothes. Put together money. We put a couple of monies together. We started a shop. That's Pan-Africanism. Anything else, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, because we need economic freedom back home.
Economic freedom is so important, but you have to be intentional about it. We have to be very intentional. If we want to do it in a sustainable way, we have to. By intentional, I mean that we need to dream. We need to dream 50 years ahead.
Interesting point you're raising there about standing together for having a collective ideology that sort of unites everybody. I wanna put this on the table over here. So, we're sitting in 2022. If you grew up like me in the 90s, you were told that in 2020 something there will be flying cars and all these, all these like sci-fi type of things. And here we are. And it actually is like that, except minus maybe a flying car. Although they are
testing the elite. It's for the elites.
Yeah.
They are. They actually are testing it. It should. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that. I just want to use that to raise a point. Is that with COVID devastating everybody. I think now more than if there's one thing that the creative community and Black people across South Africa and the continent can stand together, is that we were all screwed over with this through our failing governments, and there's one cause we can stand together is this. My on this platform, we like to challenge a lot of the guests in getting their viewpoints on technology, on how to use technology, and I just wanna sort of just lead into that. One thing I also like a lot of history, and if I read back, a lot of people that try to change the system within the system, it never worked across the world ever. There might be some change here and there, because the system, for example, let's just say politics, if you want to go like into parliament, whatever, you can have dreams and stuff like that, but the fact that your work that your ideas will actually manifest is, if you want to be honest, is quite minimum. But now all of a sudden we're sitting in 2023, there's 5G technology. There's these companies in China and in Silicon Valley that is developing platforms. In some of them are actually quite liberal, and some of them are actually quite dope, for example, like cryptocurrency. And African people, artists in particular, seem very distant of that. Like, it's just something happening over there, but yet we use it every single day. We use technology even right now. And later on today too, we're gonna use technology, even like if you're bank. So what's your views on how to use 5G or just technology in general? You also raised a point, just another point earlier on. You were talking about the group you're selling, like you're trying to sell these products. That was happening in COVID. Even back then, to move around was problematic because our movement was literally cut short. But I mean, there's drones to do that, so you don't have to. You can literally sit in your hand. If you have a drone, you can actually just control. You can drop things off anywhere in the world, actually. So I think that one of the major things that I find really interesting, and we're trying to unpack it on this platform, is personally, we think that technology is not our only, but it can definitely work for us if we understand it. And I don't think people understand. I think people still think all the devil and all these other. You were talking about conspiracy theories. That's a conspiracy theory, in my opinion. And I mean, moving into 2023, even something like voting. If you look at the current voting in the states that happened, I think in Georgia, they also technology and all these platforms are really, really, really woven into everyday's work. And most Africans or most creatives don't really focus on that. And irony, like I said, is they use Facebook, they use their phones for everything. So in moving forward, if you look at like 5 years down the line now, because it looks like COVID is not going anywhere, maybe the politics that came with it is not going anywhere. In fact, it's manifesting into really nasty looking things. And it's also raised the alt-right. The alt-right, if you look, especially in Europe, nobody knows how to use technology more than those guys. Even something as simple as a meme. Like, I think memes is an incredibly strong tool. And it's to the point, bruh. A meme, you'll laugh at it, but it gets its message across. And yeah, man, I want to raise another point, but I'm thinking I can go on forever. So yeah, man, just what's your views on all of that?
I get where you're going, my brother. I get what you're saying.
Sure.
Technology is of utmost importance in the 21st century. But we must remember, in human evolution, technology has always been important. Technology for making fire, technology for making clothes, technology for making spiritual artifacts, spiritual articles, from beads. Beads are technology. The white and black, the red and black, what they call the Zulu love letter, the coding that you find in our beading system, the coding that you find in the ancient Medu-Neter system, what is called the hieroglyphs. Nkosi. So all technology is all important, but everything within its own context. Now I'll start from the back. I'll start from one of the things that you said lastly about the rise of the alt-right being, and it raises a conversation that I had with one of my friends. I think my sister Shabnam Palisa Mohammed. You know, we are together in an organization called THJ, which is Transformative Health Justice, right? It's a forum. It's an organization. I was talking to her about how difficult it is to side with some of the people that are talking the same language as us in terms of promotion of food sovereignty, promotion of farmers, smallholder farmers, promotion of natural health systems. Yet at the same time, you find an alternative racist right-wing people are talking the same language as you. It goes to the same thing. It goes to how Trump uses Twitter, how Kanye West uses Twitter, how Elon Musk uses Twitter, owns Twitter now. So all of this in a spectrum, you look at it as, I'm gonna have to quote the Bible, even though I'm no longer a Bible reader that much. I used to be, because I was in the priesthood in Rastafari before for many years. I was a Nyabingi priest. I come from the Nyabingi movement.
Okay.
So now there is somewhere in the Bible it says, in the end days knowledge will increase, but then with the increase of knowledge, many people will become worshippers of self. They will not look to God. They will look to self. They will worship self. They will worship money. They will worship trees and blah 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 blah. But the point, the reason why I'm quoting that, though, even though it's a paraphrase, is that the far right see themselves as believers in God, the God of Israel. I have to be specific. But also the people, and people look at COVID also through biblical eyes, through eyes of revelation. You know, 666, or what is in this vials? Am I not getting 666 in my injection? Am I not getting this or that? You understand those things? So all of this, if you look at the world of conspiracy theories, whether you are debunking them or you are looking at them through you cannot be, there is no objectivity. There is only subjectivity. There cannot be any objectivity, because people are taking things from the context of their upbringing or whatever they are been raised to believe. And then you cannot, you have to support some of the conspiracy theorists sometimes because they are anti-authoritarianism. But the paradox in anti-authoritarianism is that you still put your authority in an invisible God of Israel. I mean, you trust an authority which is invisible, which people like myself would say is an invention. It's an invention, ancient invention by a particular people, right? And then there's this authority here on earth, which swears on the Bible. The same Bible, you're both reading the Bible, but you're interpreting it in two different ways. One is saying, obey me and you shall live peacefully, and I only have your interest at heart. But that same person, that a political head that you are voting for, who swears on the Bible, is paid by an atheist like Bill Gates, for example, or whoever, right? So there is a total, knowledge has increased, but also confusion has increased. Instead of knowledge helping us to become wiser and better at approaching life and technology and nature, we're actually becoming more confused, because the medicines, the science that we trust is sponsored, the Anthony Fauci's and all that, they are sponsored by someone who's an atheist who believes in extermination of human beings in order to save human beings. I must exterminate 3 billion people in order to save the earth. I must exterminate this amount of people in order to for oxygen or whatever, for greenhouse gases, blah, 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 blah. I'm summarizing. All I'm saying to you is that we are living in an age where ideologies are clashing so much. Oh, lastly, I have to say this. The far right also, each time I listen to some of these far right, especially the Americans, even Europeans, each time I listen to them, they are always bashing communism. It's all about communism was so evil. So many people died during communist regime, in every communist regime, you know. So they're not only supporting people like Trump, who are bigots, racists, and sexists, and all kinds of things, but at the same time, they are saying every communist and every socialist, everyone who believes in the socialist, I'm neither, by the way, but everyone who believes in these things is anti-God, is anti-life, wants to control you. Yet at the same time, they say, no, you must be controlled by the greatest authority, which is Jehovah, for example. So do you understand where I'm going? I'm saying that there is an increasing level of deep confusion. And the only way to solve the confusion is, again, the thing that they recommend you to not do, self-knowledge. Go back to our ancient African ways. The ancient African way says the best way to know, to approach the divine is to understand nature, live in harmony with nature, know yourself. Know your position. Where do you stand with regards to nature? Where do you stand with regards to technology? What kind of technology? Technology is good, it's a tool. Like I started my conversation, I said, making of fire is part of technology. Making of beads, making of astrology, astronomy, understanding the stars, positioning yourself according to the stars, how you deal with your cosmic environment. It's all technology. But what is it for? Are you using technology to control others, or are you using technology to improve life, not just human life, but just to improve life so that there's harmony and balance in life? But nowadays, people are using technology for not personal, but for selfish, fundamentalist, racist, bigoted, hate-filled. You know, it's a tool in the hand of a fool, or a tool in the hand of the wise. It depends. Who's going to use it better, the fool or the wise? And who is the wise? Who defines them?
Only time will tell.
Yeah. No, the results will tell, my king.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, just the results. You know, if the technology is leading us, is social media leading us to becoming more better at communicating with each other? Or is it helping us to become more removed from intimacy? Are we becoming more intimate, or are we becoming less intimate? Someone will say, no, I found my partner, my life partner, I found them through Twitter, or I found them through Instagram, or Tinder, or whatever. So some people are gaining from it, some people are not. Africans, lastly, I have to say this. Africans, just like our brothers in Pakistan and all this, that. I mean, if my phone is broken, where do I take it to? Take it to a Pakistani, or take it to a Somalian or a Ethiopian. You know, those are the brothers at this particular moment who are dealing with those things. But if I want a certain kind of technology, if I want someone to love me better or whatever, I go and get some muti from some dude in Venda or in Limpopo, you know, and I'll make Siza come to me right now using muti. You know, it works. It's a technology. You know, I'm sorry to use you as an example, my sister, but I'm just saying. You know, so it depends what you want to use these things for.
I see your point, my friend.
Yeah, but I mean, I can relate with the overwhelming knowledge, especially because I'm raising children myself, you know, both in my work and at home. It is very overwhelming because all of this, like, confusion, how do we ground ourselves? And I know you've mentioned, you know, nature, but also access, right? Access, yeah, because also if you can talk about how people can access, you know, the institutions that you're talking about, yes, and other sources, like, I don't know, access, man.
A good question. You know, another sister came to interview me, Sister Sheena Satikha. She came to interview me about, she's a town planner, and she was talking about, she came to my house. In fact, I said, no, let's do it at the house. Last weekend or the other weekend, about access to public spaces. Where do I go for meditation, for example? Do I have to pay for it? Do I have to, if I want to walk barefoot somewhere in nature, do I have to, yeah, where do I go? Some places I pay for, some places I don't pay for. You know, there are spaces, and there's the hill, the mountain, which I usually go to for my walking meditation here in Centurion. I can see there's a developer. In a few months' time, there's going to be houses there, right? So that means I have to shift. I have to go somewhere else. I have to go to the place where I have to pay 30 rand to get in for an hour,
You need
right?
the land.
Excuse me?
You need the land.
Yeah, so we need the land, but we also need to work communally. We need to bring back community. We need to really have this, we need to create communities that are talking to each other. We're not talking to each other. In the suburbs that we live in generally, we basically just don't talk. Neighbor, you are likely to get a hi from your neighbor. Or either when you're walking, when you're jogging, you will see your neighbor and say hi. But it's the children that are still talking with each other because they meet each other at the playground. But most children, like you mentioned, we are raising kids. Our children, YouTube is banned in my house, for example, because YouTube is some of the most toxic.
Yes, sir.
Some of the most toxic things are happening there for kids. Go to YouTube and just look at cartoons. Just I got 6-year-olds. I say, okay, educational videos for 6-year-olds. I will see 5 good educational videos about phonics and other things. But the rest, there's something called, what's this thing? Huggy Wuggy. You know, they will take Sonic or they'll take any ordinary cartoon and they'll either cut its neck or it'll be pooing there, shitting there. Or they'll make Barbie pregnant or Barbie is pregnant and Barbie wants an abortion or Barbie wants this. Or, do you understand? So technology is a tool that is deadly, but it can also save lives. Missing children have been found through Facebook. You know, missing cars. You know.
I just like to come in there just to raise a point because you're actually consistent with that and saying like how technology works in basically in what hand it works, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. And my point is because it's not controlled by us. For example, if you look at like an app like what's the TikTok? I mean, those algorithms are really good. All you need to do is just punch in your email address and they know everything about you. They feed you content just based, which is if you think of how strong it is. But my point on that is that it's controlled by the Chinese communist government, and
it's surveillance.
I don't want to say too much in case they actually hear me and then like
they do hear you.
It's just all of a sudden I also just go for a walk and don't come back. But my point is that these platforms are not controlled by people like us, and I think we should take the initiative here. We should own these own spaces, like what we're doing. We're developing our own platform. We're obviously testing it at the moment. We want to sell art. We want to open up this platform for people like yourself and others, where all you need is your device and you have access to all this beautiful art, culture, and so forth and so forth. Yeah, because I just don't believe it's the point you're making on the YouTube. Although that's my last point. A lot of parents. That is, these guys know what they are doing. They know this platform, not to speak too ill of YouTube, because the Art Lexcia podcast is also found on YouTube.
There's so many good things on YouTube, bruh.
Yeah, including the Art Lexcia podcast.
Yeah, and Spotify.
I just think we must understand these platforms, and like we should coding is also a big thing that we should start learning, especially children, to write our own code and to understand what we're doing, because we can't wait for everybody else, and technology is moving so fast, information is moving so fast that I can guarantee you in 12 months time, when we're recording episodes 100 and almost close to 200 episodes in about 12 months time, we will be singing there'll be something up there that has come to the track, which is just even probably more toxic than what we're talking about now. We're trying to create a community on this platform of people who want to take action, and if you want to take action, then there is people you can work with and so forth. So what we're trying to do here is not just to talk and just to highlight problems. And we're not being arrogant like the solution for everybody, but we know people who might potentially have an idea of what to do and what not to do. And that's just something I just felt like I just need to put that on here, so that we're really pushing that narrative on this platform. And if there's any other creative listening to this and you want to be involved in any thing, just hit us up on the artlex@gmail.com. I promise, Siza, we spoke about yesterday, we're going to check the email address more often. We don't really check it that often, I must admit, but we will.
Check your inbox and the spam.
Yeah, man. Like, sometimes because we run this thing on our own. It's only Siza, myself, and then the brother Julius and Harare, and we all got our own this and that. So sometimes it gets very overwhelming. Not that I'm making excuses, because I don't like to do that. But yeah, that's my point. Siza, you want to raise a point there? Say something.
Well, I feel overwhelmed by all of this knowledge today, but just grateful for the space and time. But Menzi, yes, thank you for sharing and being generous. And
You're welcome. Can I say something about one of your guests?
Please do, man. Please do.
On the same point, in that point that you are raising now about technology, you had Andile Mlitama here, my brother and my leader. Even though I unfriended my brother and my leader long ago on Facebook, for political reasons, I love him so much. And I unfriended him because of Bushiri and Zuma, but it's a different story for another day.
Oh yeah.
More Bushiri than Zuma. But he raised some very important points, and he kept on reiterating it about exactly what you're saying about using technology and owning these things and owning the codes, the algorithm, making sure that like tomorrow I was saying to my other friend the other day, Nkosi, we're going to be doing some Nkosi Magai. He's a poet from Durban, from KZN. I was saying to him that, in fact, we've started this project where we are translating a work called The Husia by Maulana Karenga. It's a book, we want to translate it, ancient Egyptian texts put together, a compendium of them. We want to translate them to isiZulu, right? So we started the work together. I was saying to him that, dude, you have so much wise things that you are saying on Facebook. If Mark Zuckerberg tomorrow stops Facebook, what happens to all your content?
Good point.
What happens to all your content if even yourself, my brother, if they take down YouTube?
Yeah.
What happens to all the content? Right? So it's a case in point. And Andile, I think, was raising this point that we need to create this revolutionary, because it's a revolutionary. It's about taking these things. How does it liberate Black people ultimately? Whatever we do, what does it do to liberate us ultimately? Right. So we are in touch with brothers and sisters in Francophone Africa, Lusophone Africa, Anglophone Africa, Arabic Africa. We are in touch with each other everywhere. We need to leverage that power. Again, it's a question of Pan-African unity. We are here, we are together, we are having these conversations. Even this morning, I was having deep conversations with people in Mozambique, in Malawi, in Nigeria. All within the space of 30 minutes, I was speaking to all those people. So the point is, how though now do we, and I was asking them, what we are doing, what makes it different from the AU? What we are starting now, this union, it's called the Think Tank Union of Africa. Why are we replicating the wheel? Are we recreating the wheel? Or are we saying we're going to do better than the AU? Do we have the resources to do better than the AU? Do we stand the danger of one day being sponsored by the WEF or the WTF? What's the thing? The World Bank? I'm sorry to digress for too long, but all I'm saying is that I commend you for working on a platform that is going to be autonomous. Some are already out there. We need to find a way to link these things like a Voltron. We need to find a way to link all these all these Pan-African spaces and these people-centered spaces, all these nature-centered spaces, all these spaces that want to, that promotes liberation and liberty and freedom. We need to connect them. And we need to meet. We need to set a year. Each year, at Lexcia, there's a festival that is connected with another festival of Africa, of Ikambi, or Green Ankh, or GEK, or whatever. Beyond our ideological differences or whatever, we just need to meet at least once a year.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you.
In the land where Queen Nkosi resides. She must live in that land. She must invite us. She must bake. She must cook, and we must come.
Exactly. And most importantly, we are in control of the content, guys. The content is shocking out there. The content is shocking, like you were talking about YouTube and everything. But
even some content that is supposed to be wise. The Sangoma content out there. The Sangomas of YouTube, of Black Twitter. The Sangomas of Black Twitter, guys. They'll shock you. The hoteps, even the hoteps, they will shock you. You know, the hoteps like me. You know,
everybody is talking about their own truth. You know,
it's their own truth, but it's like some of it is like really debilitating to the community, to the creator community. Some people are actually providing content that actually puts the practice in disrepute. Put the traditional practice in disrepute. Abanye bayathagatha on Twitter. They are actually dealing with witchcraft and sorcery, but they are saying they're dealing with traditional healing. It's there. But that's my opinion. That's my opinion.
No, it's really bad. But yeah, seriously, the content we can get to control because there is a lot going out there. And phela ukhumbula ukuthi when I put Menzi also. Hey, these institutions have been there forever, unlearning, some of the ways, trying to find yourself. Like, how do you convince ugogo says what I'm just making an example.
Yes.
You are not doing it right.
How do you tell a Shembe person that they part of their practice is colonial Scottish stuff? How do you tell them that? Scottish. The young men, they wear Scottish skirts. Scottish. There's a contextual development of how it became like that. If you study Shembe Upombela, the originator, there was something, the connection with the Scots, with some church or whatever, But at the end of the day, there's a lot of beauty. 80% of what goes on in the Shembe church, for me, I support. But there's also a whole lot of stuff that is just cultic. I'm sorry if I'm digressing from the topic. It's just cult. It's like us, or Rastas, We are a cult of Haile Selassie. We Rastas, And there's a spectrum. There is a lot of great things that happened there. There's a whole lot of nonsense that happens there within cults, There are those who are doing it logically, and there are those who are doing it for some wild reasons, Prejudices that are there, laws, the archaic Israelites laws that exist there, There's a whole lot of things we need to unlearn, as you are saying, my sister. Even with the Kemetic people, we're not here to build pyramids. We're not here to go to Egypt. We are doing it because of the codes within these things, which are about how to create a harmonious, cosmologically sound, powerful civilization with individuals that are healthy, mentally, spiritually, physically. That's it. It's not about rebuilding in Africa of the past. It's gone.
It's about Black love, though, because when you were speaking, it's about when you were talking about Ukoko Maseko, I'm like, oh my God, we need more books, we need more biographies, we need more knowledge about ourselves written by us, So it's important work, Putwam, that you're doing.
We give thanks.
Yeah, my brother, I think you're doing some outstanding work there, and much like,
I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I don't do it alone.
We can't
and I'm glad you're raising that point over there, just for all the listeners, you know, they have all these things to say about Africa and all of this, but there's people like us and others who's pushing really hard and who's working really smartly within all of that. And this is a platform for that. So if you want to learn any more, you know exactly where to tune in and to get an earful. My brother, just like in closing, man, if any of the listeners want to reach out to you, want to find out more about what you're up to and so forth, where and how do they get hold of you? What platform and so forth?
I will give you the detailed contact of the organizations that I work with. One that I did not mention probably is I will say the website. Go to Academy for Contextual Metaphysics. That is myself, Sister Lindelwa Ncele, and Sister Ntokozo Ncuma. Academy for Contextual Metaphysics. It's on Twitter. We have a site which is just that, Academy for Contextual Metaphysics.co.za. Wait, is it a .com? Forgot. But try. If you just Google it, it'll come up. Academy for Contextual Metaphysics. Ikambi can be found on YouTube. Ikambi Natural Healing. Ikambi is IKHAMBI. Ikambi Natural Healing. It's on YouTube. We have a Facebook page, and we meet on YouTube. We meet on Zoom. We have a Zoom kind of podcast thingy where we have these conversations about the spiritual, cosmological, medicinal properties of Africa. And then you can get me on my email. If you want to reach me directly on greenankhworks@gmail.com. Green Ankh Works. It's Green Ankh. I know, like, people when they interview me on radio, they always say an ankh. I don't know why, but like people have say ankh. It's okay. It's an ankh, but it's ANKH. It's an ankh. greenankhworks@gmail.com. You can reach me there, and I have a blog called greenankhworks.wordpress.com. I write a couple of things there. I don't write as much as I used to, but I also reshare things that I believe that are in harmony with what Green Ankh Works stands for. So it's all there. greenankhworks.wordpress.com.
No, cool, man. We'll also add them on the description.
Yeah, man. We'll add that when we publish the episode. I just in closing, I just saw a notification. The government is really messing with us. That's actually now stage 6. So we're basically gonna be sitting in darkness for most part of the day, which is terrible.
Are you at stage 6?
Yeah, I just got the notification now. Which is terrible. Which is absolutely terrible.
My brother, is it government or is it many different levers being pulled here? Because for me, I think there's a whole lot going on beyond. There's a sabotage internally at ESCOM. Also, you've heard of that.
I do think that it's a political coup that that these guys are busy playing political chess, and the taxpayers, we the working class, we the people that feel the brunt. We've complained about this, in fact, the whole year, the entire year, basically almost every episode, if I must be honest. And that stinks. That actually stops. Yeah, well, that's just terrible. But yeah, anyway, we can make it. We can badmouth these government people here, but I can tell you now, we're working on getting off this grid. I want no part.
Get off the grid.
I want no part of this water nonsense. They cut our water. They basically just Anyway, we are working really hard at that. It's just a money thing. But anyway, to the listeners, my guys, like we are towards the end of the year. So as I said in the beginning of the episode, if you made it so far, good luck or well done to you. Siza always like to say we like to celebrate ourselves here. So if you listen to this, please celebrate yourself. Please love yourself. Love yourself. Love your wife, your partner, your kids. I think there's too little of that going around. Too much. So man, let's just spread that. And if you're into Christmas and all that type of stuff, remember we got a dope ass episode coming up. I'll share my views on Christmas on that episode. I won't do it right now.
Love you guys. Love you.
And yeah, man, that's it on my side. My sister, you got anything else to say? Closing.
Guys, love and light. Thank you for always tuning in. One love.
Love.
Thanks, my king. Menzi, thanks for coming through, my king. It was beautiful. A lot of interesting stuff said today. And yeah, we'll let you know as soon as as the episode is published. We need to holler at we're gonna speak to our guy after this, and yeah, I think I said it now. Thanks, my king. Siza, we'll talk later. No?
Positive vibes. What's that?